Oh, and welcome to another exciting episode of the
Terrorisk podcast.
Yeah,
I'm here right now with Chris Kim. How are you doing here tonight, Chris?
good. Yo, let me ask.
Thank you for being on my show. And I already ruined the bit. Continue. Go ahead.
No, it's fine. It felt good being the guest for once instead of being the host. I would love to be the guest of a podcast where people were like, "Yo, yo, come on, Chris. I need you on my podcast." You would bring in the numbers so fast.
I mean, you have a thriving fan base. You're a charismatic figure, a prominent New York City personality.
No, I wouldn't say that.
I feel like you're at least famous within Staten Island.
No,
Everyone's
no.
always calling you the king of Staten Island.
No, that's not true.
I've heard it at least once, just
not
now
true.
when I said it.
Well, yeah, maybe that one time, but generally it's not something that I usually hear a lot. I don't know. I mean, I don't think it's really. I don't really think about being on the forefront of people's lobes. I just want to.
You're just vibing?
Nah, I really like.
You do a lot.
I want to make stuff. You know.
Yeah, you're a very productive person, it seems like. You always have another thing you're working on, another project, another hobby, another skill you're cultivating. I admire it, genuinely, your work ethic.
Actually, yeah. Well, if you really want to,
Or I should say your work ethnic.
if you want to be specific, it's not like I go through like hobby after hobby. I think I've like really been sticking with like the same 3 things for like years now, you know.
Swordsmanship, DJing, podcasting.
Well, podcasting's fairly new, but it was also like I went through my bicycle like reintroducing myself to bicycling.
That's true. A lot of cycling. There's a period of time you were graffitiing a lot, I recall.
Well, that I've been doing that shit since I was like fucking 14 years old. That's the
Yeah.
shit that I probably shouldn't be doing, in my opinion.
Because of risk involved, or reach the heights of your ability in it.
Wait, stop! Don't call me. Yeah.
Is it all done? Is graffitiing a dead form within New York City circa 2023?
No, not at all. I think graffiti's actually thriving. I think graffiti is. I mean, the culture may not be what it was, you know, when back in like the 70s or the 80s or the 90s, but I was.
You certainly can't graffiti on the subway anymore.
Why not?
I mean, I guess you could, but it seems like if they clean it up, it's not like back then.
that's
It's not like
true.
It's not like when you watch The Warriors or Death Wish.
Yeah, but I don't know. Like, to me, that would just be like an added extra challenge. Like, it just gives you more reason to like stay up, to like not slack, you know?
Yeah.
And I think that's like, well, the school of graffiti that I come from is like they don't prioritize like individual works as opposed to prioritize the act of bombing. To actually go out and put up like fill-in after fill-in after fill-in after fill-in, to not really just do like one big thing, to do like many big things and do as many as you fucking possibly can, to the point where it's like people get into fights over turf about it. They'll be like,
Yeah.
yo, dude, you're catching fill-ins over my shit on my fucking wall on my street. I'm about to steal your paint and beat you up, man. You know, like, that's really how these guys like rolled about that shit. And it was so stupid. I mean, that's I guess, you know, one of the many reasons why you could hate it and love it at the same time, because on one hand, it's so creative, it's so expressive, it's a great outlet for physical stuff and ego stuff. But like when it comes down to like the cost and like
Seems like it's a lot of investment. Even if you're stealing the paints, it's still a lot of effort going into it.
well, the biggest investment is time, because when's the best time to do graffiti? Between the hours of like 3 a.m. to 6 a.m. So all that automatically
Yes.
is gonna fuck with your shit, you know?
It also makes it very much a young man's game. When you're naturally up all night anyway,
It makes
you have
it
a ton of energy.
It makes it a young man's game, and it makes it a crackhead's game.
Yes,
Yeah.
exactly.
Yeah. And a gangbanger's game, I guess, like a drug dealer's game. Basically, like any seedy lifestyle of this urban, you know.
True. I can't think of many demographics known for having a high youth male population, crack abuse,
But
gang banging, and a lack of a job in the morning.
But
I have
what's
no idea who
interesting-
you're talking about.
But what's interesting is like, yes, like those like, you know, kinds of people, you know, from that like seedier side of like city lifestyles, urban lifestyles and shit. that they do get into graffiti, but also they cross over with like, you know, like fucking hipsters and hippie artists and like, you know, like artist types, like real like artistic people. Like you call them like not bombers, but like street artists, you know, like shit like that, like Banksy types and shit. You know, so there's like it's a huge spectrum of different like types of like
Banksy sucks, by the way. I mean, he's competently talented.
I don't know anything about. I was just using him as like a placeholder
That's fair,
example.
yes.
I don't know if who the fuck like. It might not even be one person. It could be like
a collective, yeah.
You know, like I don't know. It could be anything. But I'm just using that as an example. Like
Right,
there's also like like you know, there's like really bullshit stuff like Mark Echo. Even though Mark Echo contributed so much, he tried. He really tried. Like he clearly had a passion for like that kind of that end of like urban culture. But I don't, you know, like there's only so much you could do for it and with it before you realize like there's no matter how you dress this shit up, it's just degenerate shit. You're going out at night writing on people's shit, like
yeah, you're just going out to vandalize other people's property.
Like
yes.
so, you got to see it for what it is. You are a criminal. You know, there's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. There's really no room to complain. Like if you get like manhandled by police going out doing that shit, because what do you think you're destroying people's fucking property? Like yeah, you're gonna get fucked up doing that, whether by the cops or by the people who own the shit that you're writing on. You know, like it's one or the other.
Or as you previously mentioned, rival graffiti. Yes.
So you know, that being said, and it's not even like, you know, you have anything like awesome and like what is it like crazy to look forward to if you like go deep into it. No, your life is just gonna get worse and worse.
You're just gonna develop a better ability to draw bubble letters
on walls. Yeah. Well, okay, so that's a good segue into what this episode is going to be really about. And you know, I've been doing these stupid like list things with like guests. The last one I did with Bo is 5 things I wish I knew before becoming an artist, because Bo's an artist, and she went through her list. So this today. Since Carmen here isn't exactly a New York native, Carmen recently moved here
3 years ago, December 2020.
At like the height of the epidemic, pretty much.
It felt like it had blown over for the most part. Feels like the height of it was summer 2020, or perhaps maybe the earliest portion of the pandemic when everyone was taking it very seriously, and then to varying degrees, people weren't taking it seriously for a while afterwards.
Well, I mean, because it's a psychological thing, right? Like, I'm the kind of person where, like, the more serious it gets, the less I feel like taking it seriously, because then it's like, wow, I got to go see the city right now because it's so fucking empty and dead. Like, I got to go out there, you know, like, I got to see it.
It's very surreal. I mean, even just in Boston, which is not a very prominent city. I mean, it is, but it's always been like a low population.
Puritan fucking bastards.
It is. Still fascinating to see it dead in the noonday light, and I'm sure it was all the weirder in New York City, looking at photos of it being completely desolate. By 2020, at least in New York, definitely wasn't true in Boston, but it felt like the city was mildly opened up. I certainly could go out and do most of the things I wanted to do. You know, bars would close early, but a bunch of them would be open after hours, cash only.
Yeah. So that's Boston. But back to what this episode was about. It's gonna be 5 things Carmen wished he knew before moving to New York City from Boston. 5 things I wish I knew before moving to New York City.
Yes.
5 things you guys should pay attention to, or you guys should consider if you're one of those out of state fucking asshole white kids thinking, oh, I like Netflix shows, I want to live the New York City life. These are 5 things you should fucking listen to. All right, so listen up close, pay attention, because this is valuable information that you're not going to get anywhere else. You probably will, but
probably pretty easily.
Yeah, probably.
I'm sure there's many years back, many listicles on this very subject, back when those were still being made.
Like by BuzzFeed?
Yeah, before they were made entirely by AIs as they are now.
Oh, yeah, they probably are made by AIs.
They already, not only are they made by AIs now, previously the format had a kind of algorithmic form. Even when humans were writing those lists, they were writing them much as a machine intelligence would.
Oh, speaking of online news outlets, we got to circle back to that, because there's one I want to bring up with you. I want to see your take on it. But for now, let's just get started on the list. Do you remember it? Do you remember the first one?
Yes. Well, I'm going to adjust it with one that's actually significant.
Okay.
Which is that people in New York City are a lot more welcoming and nice than I expected, based on all the media and common depictions.
So that's number one. People are
Yes.
nicer. All right. So
Friendlier.
we're not dicks. Okay. I mean, we can be dicks.
Well, now a corollary to it is also attached to it is that there's a lot more crazy people, or people are a lot crazier here, perhaps more extreme.
yeah. People are more honestly and openly crazy. Actually, no, that's not true. People are openly crazy out in the West Coast too.
Yes.
And they're crazier out in the West Coast.
I found it very easy to talk to people just on the street, in bars. I found it easier to make friends here than ever before.
Well, first of all, you also got to know, like, no one in New York City is really a native either. So that's why, like, you know, you know how
You are.
Well, I'm an exception, I guess. But by and large, like, I mean, I'm saying, like, yeah, you'll see, like, people in poor areas or culturally dense areas, like, where they're, like, very, like, isolated and shit. You know, yeah, maybe they're New York natives, but how much of a New Yorker can you really call them if all they're experiencing is like Latino New York City 24/7 or Hasidic Jewish New York City 24/7?
That's true, yes. Theoretically, I'm sure there are a bunch of people who have been
Chinese
here
New York City,
multiple
24/7.
generations.
Yeah,
I don't know
yeah.
how many of those people, though, have really experienced a variety of it.
Maybe being
Like, we're on Staten Island surrounded by working class Italian Americans. A bunch of them definitely have, like, their ancestors came to America in, like, I don't know, the 1890s, let's say. And they probably always were in, if not directly New York, then Long Island, Jersey, Staten Island, which, yes, is a borough of New York. But even then, for someone that is genuinely multi-generational New Yorker, they do have probably a very limited frame.
You know,
Excuse me.
I'm not, no offense to the other peoples, but as a New Yorker, when it comes to like all the different people that I could live around in New York, I like living around the white people. I mean,
The white ethnics, yes.
Yeah, not to knock the fucking other ethnicities. Like I could tolerate living with them fine. It's just I don't know. I just prefer living amongst the white people. And that's not even to say I'm going to be fucked up about it. Like, I'm not going to say, "Oh, I'll only live amongst the white people and then go out to the ethnic neighborhoods to eat and fuck their women and shit." No, I wouldn't say that either. Like, I would be perfectly content with like living amongst the white peoples and staying in there too. It's just, you know, usually I get pulled to other areas cuz like my friends would live out there and then they'll be like, "Yeah, come hang." Like, why do you have to make me travel to your white area? Why don't you travel to my neck of the woods? And I'm like, yeah, fucking game on. Like, you think I'm scared to go to your, go to your block? Like, I used to live there, bitch. So,
Yeah.
you know, I'd go out there and we would hang out. But yeah, like generally, but as far as like, because you know what I like about the white people? They can respect a lot of space. You know, like other ethnicities don't respect your space quite the same way. They do know how to respect your space, like in their own way. But the white people do it in a certain way where you physically do get more space, you know?
Yes, that's quite literally true.
Yeah. The only thing that white people don't do the only thing that white people do that I really don't like, that I prefer that what Asians do, I don't like what white people do where they love like shaking hands and like hugging. I like the way Asians like bow to each other.
Yeah.
It's more hygienic, you know? Like,
Yes, there's a very Asian concern right there of hygiene.
well, yeah, it's like, why am I gonna
Makes
fucking
sense.
touch you? Like, let's
Yeah.
just bow to, and it's more regal to bow to each other. It's like,
Yes.
It's like,
And you
imagine,
could bow to differing depths and
yeah,
all of that.
we imagine we held each other, even as friends, to a high enough esteem where we bow to each other. It's like, oh, hey,
Yeah.
Carmen, what's up? You know, it's like, it must be nice. Yeah, it must be a good. It makes each other feel good, as opposed to a handshake. It's like, all right, I just did a bunch of nasty shit with my hands, and let's shake on it. You know?
Well, did you know that handshakes originated as an alternative to other means of address?
that makes sense too.
It was
it's like,
designed as a
because we're touching, it's like
egalitarian.
the skin to skin contact of like whether we don't speak the language or not. Like touching hands is something every human can understand.
It was compared. Sorry. It was in contrast to European bowing and having like a complex rules around like this person of equal or greater or lesser whatever stance, like as opposed to bowing only whatever how many degrees far.
Well,
they
see,
had
I didn't
a
even,
whole rule.
First of all, I didn't mention the degree of the
Yeah.
depth of, but you did. I
Yes.
even as an Asian, I was like, that's not even really what I was like considering. But
No,
if you
no,
want to
no.
get technical, yeah, some cultures do really like really
And a lot of
consider
European cultures did, particularly with aristocracy.
doing a little
and-
curtsy.
Yeah, things like that. The handshake, I think, was a Quaker invention of a greeting that would not have that level of social complexity and hierarchy. It was deliberately egalitarian, as opposed to, oh, I'm going to commit a social faux pas by bowing too deeply or not deeply enough to this person, or some other elaborate
Whereas let me
greeting.
flip the script and just shake hands. Well,
Yes.
to me, I think a more universal or more intuitive perspective of a handshake and like the value or the inherent like universal nature of it, or universal, I guess,
Egalitarian nature of it.
resonance of it, like how like
Yes.
the act of shaking hands resonates with everyone. Because I look at it from a human perspective, like when is usually like the times when people are holding hands? It's usually when humans are helping each other. Like, oh shit, I'm about to fall off the horse, and then they grab your hand. Or it's like, oh shit, like I need help because I fell, grab your hand. You know, it's like usually the act of grabbing hands is like, oh, it's dark, I don't know where I'm going, hold my hand. You know, it's like usually the act of hand holding between humans is an act of like solidarity, of helping, of like understanding, empathizing enough to assist you through a time. So that's how I take it. That's why I think handshakes are
That's
so
a good interpretation.
I think that's why handshakes are the most ubiquitous, because it makes the most sense, like animalistically, like naturally. You know, like we don't, you know, we hold hands not just to feel good. We hold hands out of like pure survival instinct. You know, like
Yeah, a bunch of practical matters attached with it.
exactly. And I think that's enough. You don't have to like go through this whole like lineage of like cultural like, you know, perspectives. I think it's as simple as animal nature. It's like, yo, we sometimes we need a leg up. We need a fucking hand up. Like
I think, and I could be wrong on this, it is in effect a relatively recent invention.
handshakes.
Yeah.
I don't know about that.
As a kind of greeting. I know with,
You know what? I think like that, like the hand-to-hand interlinking hands is
Because it's very
What
common
about
in-
variations where it's like I grab your wrist and you grab my wrist? Like
that's a very recent innovation. Well, actually, I don't even know how much.
no, I don't think that's a recent
maybe.
innovation at all. I think
Let's
that's
see,
I think that's as
handshake.
common as like, you know, it's like imagine being a warrior horseback rider. You're trained to do things like reach your hand out and swing a guy back. You know, like
Right. Globally widespread greeting or parting custom. Yeah, I'm sure it's is widespread. Specific to different cultures. History. Prehistory as a demonstration of peaceful intent shows the hand holds no weapons. Symbolic gesture of mutual commitment to an oath. Yeah, it is very old. Ancient Greece. Dexiosis, the Greek word for handshake, to give someone the right hand. Dexios.
that makes sense. That's cool.
What's your pronunciation on that?
It doesn't have the phonetic version right there. Like in the,
Fuck. Well, in Greek, no, it has it in Greek. It's not the phonetic version; it's the Greek spelling of it. This is fascinating audio
I
content.
don't know,
I'm sure.
dexiosis.
Yeah, dexiosis sounds right.
Like osmosis, dexiosis, yeah. Combining, coming together. Dexy, hand, you know, like dexy coming together. Dexiosis.
It's because dexterous regarding the hand and regarding the right in particular.
Yeah, actually,
because
this
they
is
have the
that is
right
fun.
hand to the
Yeah.
right hand.
You know what? Digging into words is fun, I think.
It can be tedious. It can lead to very dumb theories, but it's intriguing.
I like when people get pissed off at combining like Greek roots with Latin roots. It's like, ugh, don't you dare. Like,
Well, you are speaking English. It probably sounds better if you combine the proper roots and the proper prefixes and suffixes.
makes sense. All right, back to
Anyway,
back to the
what was
list.
the first thing? What 5 things I wish I knew before moving?
Well, first
to New York City?
was you
got
wish
one,
you knew
yeah.
that people were a lot more friendlier. You wish you knew that people were friendlier than you thought they were, or you were told they were.
We
Or
talked
made to
about. You said previously in the car ride over.
No, let's just go to number 2. What's number 2?
No, I think this is directly connected to it. You were theorizing on saying that your first group of friends in New York you draw.
Oh yeah, so number 2.
I think let's make this either number 2 or it's connected to number 1.
No, it's number 2.
Okay,
number
cool.
2 is your first friend group. Is you wait? Oh fuck!
Were
did
you
I
going to
say?
abandon it, or it's like you'll get another friend group, or it'll suck?
Yeah, your first friend group is not going to work out when you first move here, and even though
That's
you think
the way
it'll,
it was framed.
it's either first of all, like here's the scenario, like
Oh,
let's say you move out here and
Yeah.
you already have an established like group of friend or a couple of friends who moved out here, and they're like come, and they're always telling you to come, and one day you're like fuck it, I'm gonna go and live with my friends out in New York City. And then you do that, I guarantee you, you're not gonna. It's not gonna work out. It's just not gonna work out because like
does it even need to be a thing where you had a falling out with
no,
them?
it's just you're gonna meet better people. You're
Not
gonna-
even that. It could just be that people you knew moved on. You met new people.
Oh
you
yeah, and like
maintained some
shit
people.
happens. Shit happens.
I had like core friend groups every single year in New York that is constantly changing because there's such a turnover in the population. Sometimes this is due to drama or personal issues within the group, but often it's just that I fall out of touch with someone with or without reason. They move out of town, and what seemed like a very core important part of my social I can break up New York year by year by the different friend groups I had, friends I maintained, ones I lost or moved away from.
yeah.
I don't really. I spend a tremendous amount of time with my coworkers, and now I basically never work with them. I rarely have overlap. But I had friends I had at work in 2021, 2022. No, yeah, 2021, then 2022. A bunch of them I just barely interact with.
Okay, this is going to be a very nuanced
Please.
not an observation, but more like a very nuanced concept or an idea. But I think I would suggest, like my hypothesis
Yes.
or my offering, I guess, my intellectual offering here is I would guess that this is why it pays to be like a subtly personable person. Because when you're like one of those personable people where it's just off the bat, you wear it on your sleeve, people could automatically get your appeal right away, and then automatically they're hooked, and then they want to maintain this intense close bond, which is great. Building bonds is great, but realistically, logistically, when it comes to just energy levels and time, you just can't maintain. So you can only maintain so many close relationships. Realistically, only about 8 or so. In like a single given time in your life, only 8
Yeah.
truly close like relationships that people outside of your family.
You only have so much time in your life.
Exactly. So that being said, it takes a lot more energy to wear it out from initially like that. It's like, yeah, I'm going to be 100% me every time I meet a person. I'm just going to be the full version of me. That actually will drain you before anything. So I think it just pays to be a more a more dimmed down version every time you initially meet anybody. And then you kind of gradually let it. First of all, it's more interesting that way for anyone else that experiences you. Because they first meet you, they think, okay, they get this really turned down version, and they're like, okay, I guess blah blah blah. But then if they do happen to be in a circumstance where they just run into you time and time again, then you could gradually make it a process and kind of turn the you up a bit with each new encounter. And I think that's really how it should be, because first of all, it's more interesting that way. It's more fun. It's more fun to get to know a person where I would rather just pull out the 100% you as opposed to be hit with it all at once. It's interesting though. It's like how you could add storytelling just from getting to know into the dynamic of getting to know a person. That was my weird thought tangent, but yeah.
No, it's fair. I know what you mean. That giving all of your personality might be too open, too welcoming.
Yeah, and it takes a lot of energy too. If
Even
nothing
if it
else,
doesn't,
regardless
you
of how
just-
people take it, regardless of how good you are at it, it still takes a lot of energy.
Yeah.
What are you doing, man?
I'm yawning. I'm sorry.
Oh.
Yeah, I know. Dead air. You're
No.
trying to refill your whiskey, Suntory Toki whiskey. We made highballs earlier.
Oh yeah, those are good highballs. You should have added the lemonade. It adds a really nice little fine twist.
I did this time.
Oh man,
It's
this
fine.
is gonna be a good episode.
Yeah, we're talking about our highballs that we drank off camera.
And it's good stuff. Usually it's like shitty White Claw, Tall Boys, but this time it's the good stuff.
I really like it. Just the seltzer water and the whiskey. The lemonade's nice.
I mean, that's fair enough. But for me, it's if it's a highball, I want the little, because if you go to a Japanese cocktail bar or some shit and you get a highball, they're gonna add a little bit of that tropical spritz. That's
Well,
citrusy.
usually they do it with a lemon peel.
Yeah. Oh,
Or a grapefruit peel.
all right, buddy.
They don't make it sweet. I mean, the sweetness is coming just naturally from the whiskey.
Okay. Yo, but back to the friend group thing. So your friend group, yeah. So like, let's say, that's scenario one. Like where you have initially friends out here, and then you move out here with them or for them, and then you all kind of drift apart eventually, and you eventually find the next solid friend group. So like, don't get overly like attached to your first like immediate friend group upon moving to New York City. Is what I would say.
Here's a very callous thing to say. There are so many people in New York. So many of them are intelligent. So many of them are interesting. You can be somewhat selective with your friends, particularly your close friends.
True.
And you don't have to feel wedded to someone who seems like they're going through a very difficult time or very mentally ill.
Ooh, that's
or
spicy.
bad to be around, as I'm kind of bad to be around a lot of the time. There's just so many people here. You can find another intelligent, more stable person. Which is also a bad mindset to get into, but there's actual truth.
No,
here.
but the way I look at it is like you have to look after your own energy levels before looking after other people. It's like, you ever see like the airplane, what is it? The fucking when something really bad happens, they give you the protocols, always help like put on your own mask before helping other people with theirs, because if you're helping other people and then you die in the process, like, you're no good to anyone. So yeah, I don't think that's controversial to say, Carmen. I think that's
Okay,
I think that's absolutely rational and absolutely. In fact, I think not enough people are adopting that mindset. Absolutely, be a little selfish. Help yourself before helping others. All right, you know how I look at it is like, I think we said this, is like, be 51% service to others and 49% service to self. That's the most reasonable ratio, and that's not an unreasonable ratio at all. You're still a good amount, after looking after yourself, but also you got that couple of percent points, like tip you over onto the right side. Like, look at it that way,
Yes.
Yeah, but also that was the one scenario, where it's like you move out here for friends who are already the second scenario is the stupider one, but nonetheless it happens, where you don't know anyone out here, like, at all, and then you just choose to, like, I'm gonna move to New York City to do God knows what. I mean, this ain't the fucking 1920s, so it's like, who the fuck knows what they would be doing? Like, just like
I think a lot of people are working service industry jobs, such as I do, and hanging out.
Yeah, but there's so many better cities to like move to for bartending and hospitality than New York City.
Oh, there's so many cool people here, though. And yes, people trying to be writers, trying to have some creative career, or mostly just to exist within the role of creative person. Excuse me, in the city.
Okay, so what makes New York such a creative hotspot? Here's my take on it. I think
historical legacy, population density. You don't have to own a car.
Well, I think a lot of it has to do with how much of a blank slate New York City is on a metaphysical level. So what do I mean by that? I think if you had to fucking put like this meter of like people's give a fucks, like if there was a give a fuck meter for like the general population of a whatever, and you had like a cross between like esoteric and metaphysical interests to like purely secular material interests. If you go out west, the scale's tipped all the way to the metaphysical. Those people out west are all about that shit. You'll see it's like normal for those people to meditate. And in fact, if you live out like way out west like that, like the West Coast, and you don't meditate, you're looked at as weird. But then out in the East Coast, in a place like this or New England, you bring up meditation, they'll be like, you need Jesus, you fucking dumb shit. Like, what the fuck are you talking about, you retard? Like, go to work, get a job. Like,
maybe at one point, I feel like even the Midwest and the South, there's such a focus on self-discovery, even if it's within a Christian framework. Like non-denominational Christianity has a lot of meditative qualities or woo-woo qualities.
Well, also, I mean, if you look at like, also, it's just
there's a sense of like spiritual committing yourself to a spiritual fulfillment through some self-discovery feels more acceptable now everywhere.
Yeah, now more than ever, it seems like people would essentially have what you would call souls, right? The ability to build a meta-narrative for themselves.
Yeah.
I mean...
yeah, that kind of consciousness, that kind of...
And ironically enough, I think technology had a huge part in it.
Yes, it did.
Because,
because it frees up time and energy to do this.
And to transmit it, like to broadcast it.
Just having things like global universal literacy is a huge achievement that we're not appreciative of.
Nah, I'm pretty grateful. Even if it's like really like bad at times, like you go on like 4chan, and that's global literacy, folks.
No, like, that's high.
Yeah.
People who can't even read a book, they're not intelligent enough, limited vocabulary. The fact that you can still write them directions just in simple English is a huge boom and
You're right.
boon.
You're right. Because then the greatest minds could literally share with the poorest minds.
There's greater benefits. Not even that, just being able to organize society. Knowing which directions to go in.
And knowing that if you wrote directions...
Someone who is mentally disabled can follow simple directions on road signs. Well, I mean, they might fuck up, but they probably can.
Yeah, yeah. Right.
At a workplace.
They're like, oh, I remember
slowly.
that shape sign. I'm supposed to do this. And it's like, yes, good job. You know, like... But that you could say that's the same.
There's a step in between where people can read sentences. They might not be able to fully comprehend many sentences, but they do have some ability to. That's
the only problem with that for the longest time was that it basically what that was giving us was like a constant like satisfaction of the how, but never the why. You know, like we would always be satisfied with like, how do I do this? Here's how. Well, how do I do this? Here's how. But like the more and more like the how do we do these questions got answered, like the less and less like we were able to understand the why we're doing this, why we're doing any of this. And that's when we start to go crazy, right? It's not like we don't go crazy by not knowing how to do something. No, that's not true at all. Like if anything, that keeps us going. We only really start to go crazy when we think about like why we're doing something, you know? So it's really important to, I guess, stay grounded in that aspect, no matter like how much of the fact that you live in an age where even something like building a meta narrative or, you know, or getting a soul is becoming so much more accessible. Ultimately, these are just different avenues to like fulfill this question of like, why am I existing on this earth right now?
Yeah, so that was number 2.
No, that was number 2. What's number 3? Do you remember number 3?
Oh yeah, utilities aren't necessarily bundled together, but I think this is might be just true in general. I just had such a restricted, sheltered life. I didn't notice.
So
I had to get National Grid 2 weeks after I got on Con Ed.
You were like, why isn't this shit coming on? I pay this. Like,
well, no. I got on like the next day or a day later, but even then, Con Ed turning on my gas took like 2 weeks after I called them. Thankfully, electricity was on right when I moved in.
Yes, sir. No, I mean, you got a good handle on it. And then you also have an additional utility, which is internet.
Yeah, that's not too bad.
No. But it's funny how, like, cable became absolutely obsolete. Like, who the fuck's going to pay for cable? It's like, no, I'm just going to pay for internet and watch.
Well, people pay for multiple streaming services, and they end up paying as much or more. But, yeah.
Not if you're a pirater.
No, but a lot of people don't know how to pirate anymore. Like, that's a very distinctly millennial thing, and even then only among some millennials. Well, actually, no, it's actually pretty widespread.
I actually got a letter in the fucking mail.
Yeah,
about something I pirated. I don't even remember what it was. I think it was John Wick 4. I think that's my guess because I
had my VPN going and I had an email notification, but maybe I screwed something up in my setup.
I don't know. It's just impossible now. Like, I think you just there's certain things like, I guess, you know what, the way I see it, if it's brand new like that, it's probably not even worth pirating. Like, if I'm going to watch it, it's probably under the context of some social satisfaction. You know, it's not like because I really want to watch. Usually the things I pirate that are worth it are like movies from like 2007 or 6 that I happen to miss. You know, like or movies from the 90s that I never saw. And they're like, what? You never saw this movie? And I'm like, fine, I'll pirate it. You know, because I'm like, I'm not going to find that shit on Netflix or Amazon. Yeah. So I have to, you know, like.
There's terrible, you know, there was a period of time when Netflix had a very wide catalog. And
but it didn't have everything.
No, but it had a good catalog. It's much worse now, as is every other streaming service.
I'm just saying, if I want to watch,
Netflix
like,
was the only game in town, it had a credible selection for one low price.
But if I want to watch like the original Mask movie right now, I can't just go on Netflix, and even back then you couldn't.
In 2010, you very well might have. Is the thing.
All right. Was it that good?
When it was the only paid-for streaming service,
they just let all the cats out the bag.
All these different companies were glad to what's the word? Not franchise. It's not sublet.
Lease.
Yeah, whatever.
Lease
Provide, distribute through Netflix.
They're leasing out rights.
It had a huge catalog of mainstream hits. You weren't going to find obscure animes. You weren't going to find obscure experimental films.
But you'll find Lion King. You'll find like
You'd find some real deep cuts too. You had a very broad selection.
yeah.
But then you ended up with dozens of different streaming services that all pulled their original offerings to Netflix. When Netflix was growing, is because so many things were distributing through them.
Fucking Netflix.
But yeah, I just never stopped pirating, and it was the right decision.
Yeah, pirating. Pirating's really good. I don't think pirating is a crime at all, especially
Yeah.
nowadays, like where like there's so much media being made and like crafted.
Garbage media.
Well, true,
Oh, fuck garbage media. I was speaking into my vape.
but there's always been garbage media.
Yes.
So just because
Very
there's
true.
the only reason why there's more garbage media is because there's more media. You know, like if there's more media,
Yeah,
there's
more
gar-
overall.
Yeah,
No, that's true.
Not to say like most of the shit that's coming out is good at all. No. I'm saying like it makes sense. But what I will say is this though, it's like of course Netflix is gonna like start cutting down on like shit they want to put out there because they
They
want to
also thought that original programming would make them a lot of money or a lot
yeah,
of
that's
viewers.
what
but I
they're
don't
trying
know-
to push their own stuff. Like they're trying to push Netflix.
I don't know how well that actually worked out. Also, you can still pirate those productions.
Are you kidding me? Do you know like Stranger Things is like it was a global phenomenon?
That was, yes.
What else did Netflix do? I'm sure I can name a bunch of shit.
No,
that-
they had a bunch of successes, I know, but they also just produced such a huge content of things.
Netflix also gets to hijack things that are established, and they like things that like need a home that
Yeah.
that they know people love, but that like gets kicked out of like Warner Brothers, that gets kicked out of Fox, and they're like, where do we go? And then suddenly like Netflix will take the poor, the hungry, Netflix will take like if you're like one of those like people in that creative
Yeah.
space like who like Netflix will take your shit probably. They're not gonna find a place for it, and they're gonna pay you shit, but it's work, like actors too. You know how many actors must feel that way about Netflix? They're like, you know what? It pays shit, but it's consistent, it's steady, and it's not
Yeah.
all garbage. Like,
I think a bunch of them don't get residuals for
No.
things.
I don't think so either.
Yeah.
But they do it
I
anyway.
don't know. Also, the streaming services will take down a TV show, and then it's very difficult to ever get again. Certainly not by any official
You know
streaming.
how I see it though? Put it this way: imagine like being like somewhere between an A and a B list actor.
Yeah.
And you're one of those people trying to struggle for top spots, and you
Yeah,
used to,
any work is good work.
exactly. It used to be a time when you had to wait for that deal from
Yes.
DreamWorks
Well, you had
or
to
the deal from Paramount.
You had television. They used to have television.
But even then, it was still slim pickings because even then they would still have a certain criteria or matrix.
I think
of
a lot
like,
of people end up getting. I wouldn't be surprised if people made better off of like television when you had a shit ton of television shows.
but what I'm saying is like here comes
No.
services like huge giganauts like fucking Netflix and shit coming in,
Yeah.
and then they're willing to like literally like fill out your checkbook like straight up, and that's
Oh, I'm sure, and a lot of money has turned over hands. Yes.
So that's what I'm saying. It's like, of course, it makes sense why Netflix is like literally. I do think they're gonna become like the Sith Lords of like Hollywood. They're gonna take over.
They seem like that. And I think they're struggling now economically.
Only because Amazon like and Paramount and Disney are
Well,
like
no,
coming in.
all of them are struggling. I think.
Well, yeah, because now it's congested. But Netflix is still an OG. Netflix still is.
Yeah.
Because like Netflix has something that other these other streaming services don't, which is the cultural relevance, like Netflix and chill. That travels deeper than just the act of watching stuff on Netflix. That's like not only are we going to watch stuff on Netflix, but we're going to let this influence our real life and have sex and develop a relationship. All thanks.
I feel like that there's not very different than going to the drive-in with a girl.
Exactly, it is just a different version of that. Like people are going to be telling the story at their weddings, and it's like, so we met blah in college and there was some Netflix and chill, and all the kids will be like, what are they talking about? And all the adults would sheepishly grin and look at each other knowingly. So it's like, Netflix assaulted our culture, like infiltrated culture to that extent. It burrowed that deep where people literally will take it that way.
Yeah.
Which is interesting, like just to think that it became such a...
I'm not surprised.
No. Because, that's... maybe back then it's like it was a new and hip thing to like say like, oh, we bonded over the first Coca-Cola served and at the local drugstore, like.
Yeah. Yeah, an infiltration of corporate properties into our personal lives. Doesn't seem that surprising to me. I don't know. Streaming, I just don't care.
Yeah, fuck it.
I don't care about
Pirating forever.
I don't
Anyway,
watch anything new.
all right. Let's
Let's see. How were we up to? 2? Is that 3?
That was 3. Next, we're at number 4.
Well, let me ask you this, Chris.
What?
You're Asian. You believe in reincarnation.
Do I?
What? Yes.
Do I?
Hold on. I need to finish. What's one thing you would have told yourself before you incarnated into this body about New York City?
That 9/11 was gonna happen.
Oh yes.
Yeah. I would have told myself that.
That's fair.
Because it wouldn't have been cheating. It would have been something just weird enough for like a 10-year-old to know. They'd be like,
Yeah.
"What the fuck are you talking about, little kid?" And then it happens, and they'll be like, "It'll be one of those weird fringe stories, but still true." Like, you know, it's like,
having that and wondering how that would shape you for the rest of your life. Living in New York.
I would say this. I'll be like, 9/11's gonna happen. Bet on this in the stock market. You know, like,
we just passed 9/11 last week.
yeah, I made an episode on 9/11.
Ah, fuck. Yeah, it makes sense you would. You're a
With
New York
Bo.
boy.
I did it with Bo, the singer.
Okay. Yeah, I would just be asking things you've already said.
What? No, we didn't. Probably not. Like, we only talked about 9/11.
What was 9/11 like for you? I remember being at the dump in Maine. I was 11 years old. My dad's birthday was coming up. My dad's birthday is today, the 18th. Self-doxing.
Yeah.
And being at the dump, I was homeschooled, so I was just hanging out with my dad early in the day. And watching my dad get increasingly distraught looking at the garbage man he was talking to at the dump. And I'm in
He's
a
like
rural area.
He's like, yeah, blah, blah, blah. And your dad's like, what? What?
Here's the thing.
What the fuck?
I'm really bad at reading human emotions, especially when I was a boy. When I was a boy, I was really retarded.
Why is my
but
dad
I
getting
could
mad?
tell that my dad was upset, and I'm feeling concerned about him. It was unusual that I would have a strong ability to, not hearing him, just see his facial reactions while I sat in his van looking at a book, and I looked up and it's silent. My eyesight is bad, but I could still tell my dad was
Let me
very
ask you something.
upset. Go
You
on.
viscerally remember how upset your father was at that
Yes.
moment, right? Knowing like exactly what he was
My dad's
told.
a libertarian, so he immediately
Okay.
bought a bunch of food. Yeah. He was freaking out like all of society was going to collapse.
I get it. So like, imagine that, right?
Yeah.
And then the next, let's say in our lifetime, in our age, where we're at now, in the same similar fashion as, you know, your father being told what he was about the Twin Towers, whatever. What if I came up to you in front of your son, right? And your son was sitting in like far off at 11 years old, and I told you, yo, did you hear the vice president just got assassinated by this terrorist organization?
I would be like, ooh, that's interesting
Yeah,
content. I'm going to post about it on Twitter.
I knew it. It would be so different. You would not act like your dad at all. Your dad was like, what the fuck? You'd be like, what? Really? Are you serious?
Well, because 9/11 is so formative for me. I was Tell me about you. Well, do you remember when 9/11 happened? What were you doing?
I was at school. I was on the school bus, and then like I was literally not even in school when I
You
heard.
were 8, 9?
I was about 9. I was still in elementary school, not even in middle school yet. But I remember I was on the bus before I even got to school. Like in the middle of the route, the bus driver heard about it, and then like he was like, "Oh my god, blah blah blah, Twin Towers." I'm like, "What?" Even as little kids,
He was an Italian?
Yeah, Polish, I think.
No, tell me what his ethnicity was. Use scientific racism to determine his ethnicity.
Like I think like fuck, I was a little kid, but I think because I remember the gold chain, I remember the whiteness, but I remember he wasn't Italian or Irish because he didn't seem Catholic. I think he was Polish.
That would be Catholic too.
All right, maybe he was. I don't fucking know, but
maybe he was Italian Polish or something.
Yeah.
Maybe he was.
No, I remember this.
He wasn't Catholic.
No,
Maybe he was Orthodox.
The guy that drove that day wasn't the usual driver. He was the owner. He was the old school owner, and then I didn't know that at the time, but looking back, I knew he was probably driving that day because, like, you know, the usual drivers like, fuck this, I'm leaving, you know, like.
Yeah.
But
so he was getting it over the news, or you were just driving somewhere after this guy was replaced?
No. I remember. So towards the end of the bus route, it was like 2 stops before we get to school. And like this kid, John, we stop at this one kid's because it was one of those.
It's at like 9:30, 9:15.
Yeah, and it was one of those school buses that go from kid's house to kid's house, not like one bus stop and all the kids pile on. Like this was Like we went to each kid's house. So the last couple stops was this kid John McCluskey's house. He comes into the bus. He's like looking at it. I was like, "Yo, did you hear? The freaking Twin Towers fell. It blew up. Someone crashed the plane into it." And we're like, "What?" All the kids
What
were
was
like,
his
"What?"
name again?
John McCluskey.
Klusky. Okay, go on.
And he was like, "Yeah, I just heard it on the news, and my dad's freaking out." And we were like in the
He
fifth,
sounds Polish.
we were in the 5th grade. We were like 10. We were all 10 years old. So we
11,
were like
10?
We weren't old, mature, but we were like retarded. But
How
at
old
the
are
same
you
time, we
again?
weren't completely retarded. What?
You're 30.
Me?
Yeah.
I'm 31.
31. Okay. Okay, cool. So
Well, I'm
2
about to
years.
turn 32.
Okay, 9.
Yeah. So we were in elementary school.
Yeah.
So we were. It was like a holy shit moment. It was like holy shit. And we went to school and it was confirmed. Like the teacher got all the kids in the class together. Yeah, and I went to a weird elementary school. I went to a Montessori school, which is a great experience, by the way. It was fucking awesome. It was somewhere in between like an accelerated learning school and a retard school. You know?
Yeah, I'm familiar with Montessori schools.
It was a weird.
I never went to one, but I knew of them and kids that went to Montessori schools.
Yeah, it was a weird model, but it worked. Honestly,
Yeah.
you know what it had going for it? The best
What?
thing about the Montessori system, is that the classes were small. They were so small, in fact, like 3rd, 4th, and 5th grade would like often share a class.
Yeah.
And then when it came time to do schoolwork, they would segregate into different sections of the room to work on their own levels of arithmetic
That makes
or
sense.
grammar or whatever. And then when it came time to do like important things, like, you know, more social things like snack time, nap time, whatever, then they would come together again and like get in the same circles, get in the same communal thing, which was interesting, but it was cool.
Did you watch it on television?
What?
The unfolding of 9/11.
Well, after we got into school,
how did your school day go?
so after we got into school, they decided they're gonna cut the day short and then send everyone home. And that's exactly. We didn't have a full school day.
I didn't have any lessons with my dad, who normally have a bunch of things to tutor me on, or try to.
Well, like a homeschool curriculum.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Instead, we just watched the news.
Yeah. So it was.
After 9/11, my dad bought 50 pounds of sugar and wrapped them in plastic and just had them stashed on our property.
Maybe he really needed sugar.
He was like, "Oh, in case the food supplies collapse, we'll just eat sugar."
I mean, if you think about it, right? Like,
Yeah.
what would you do in a world where money loses all value? What would you truly, because everyone's gonna hoard something. Some people, they would hoard ammo. Some people, they would hoard toilet paper.
Yeah, my
Some
dad
people-
hoarded.
Yeah, dude. Some people would hoard people would hoard
sugar. Yeah,
because
things that could be traded. Yeah,
what you're really comparing is their deepest, most visceral instinct of survival. Like, what do they really feel would truly help them in an all-out like FUBAR scenario? And there's some people, your dad was like, he needed the glucose. You know, he needed the glucose compound.
yeah, because it was all because I told my dad sugar doesn't expire as long as it doesn't get dry or insects don't get in it. I was like 10 and told him that, and it stuck with him for like the rest of his life.
Holy shit!
Not the rest of life, a period of time there. Do you remember the anthrax attacks?
No,
They
but
happened like a month later. You
Yeah.
didn't pay attention to that?
no, but you know what I did remember? SARS.
Yeah. Do you remember the DC sniper?
Oh yeah, that guy was awesome though.
Yeah, but if people our age who grew up in DC and around there, it was a very distinct memory of DC being
Well, I
locked
remember
down.
it. Yeah, because I remember that guy was a crack shot. He was a hell of a shot.
Yeah, he was like a Hotep. He had a last name was like Muhammad.
He was a hotep.
But like American conservatives want to make it an anti-Muslim thing.
He was woke as fuck, yo.
No, I'm serious. He was like a Nation of Islam guy.
Yeah. He was woke.
conservatives abandoned.
He was a veteran. He was a fucking veteran. And that's
They
why
were
he was a
going to
crack
say-
shot.
They were going to say this is Islamic terrorism. Say Islamofascism. But it was actually just a deranged Hotep, where he's like a Nation of Islam guy.
He was a hotep.
And libs and cons backed away from the story relatively quickly.
You know who was even more of a crack shot than him?
What,
Way
Lee Harvey
better?
Oswald?
No.
Oh.
The Virginia Tech kid.
Oh, yeah.
That
Oh,
kid.
because he's Korean, of course.
No.
No,
Do you know,
that's why
do you know
he's
his,
Korean.
Do you know his body count?
Like 23.
It was something ridiculous. He
Or like 30 some.
and he had like 2 pistols, no rifle, just 2. So could you imagine this kid going like pop? He must have felt like fucking Neo from the Matrix.
Yeah,
Just pop,
or
pop, pop.
he was living out his old boy fantasy.
And you know what I loved about it? It's like he had the decency to kill himself at the end of it.
Guys do.
No. A lot of mass shooters now are cowards. They don't.
Not recently, yeah. There's also was a number of mass shootings where the person actually kills them, like shoots 1 or 2 people and then kills themselves. There have been a bunch of attempted failed spree shootings.
You're talking about the
with
Iranian
quick
woman,
suicides.
the Iranian vegan activist woman.
Well, that's unique because it's a woman, and because of that, she wasn't trying to kill people.
But I wish she did, because that was the one target where it's
Nasim Adam, the
it would have been
Persian.
so good if she actually did kill a
Well,
bunch
she's a
of-
woman. She didn't want to kill anyone but herself, which she did do.
You know, I always say that. I always say like an undisciplined man is a danger to society, but an undisciplined woman is a danger to herself.
Yeah. There's
true.
a whole bunch of attempted spree shootings where I suspect after shooting 1 or 2 people, the would-be shooter who has built up a fantasy in his head of being a spree shooter just can't follow through with it and kills themselves.
You know what my philosophy, my terroristic philosophy
What?
is? I'm not about attacking or bombing anyone. My idea is give every single person a gun. I think that's when it's like, that's my philosophy. I'm like, I want everyone.
Very normie con American or libertarian approach.
But I'm not talking about that literally. I'm not saying like, let's give an assault rifle. I'm saying like.
You mean you're going to give them the gun of knowledge?
Yeah. Yeah. What's wrong with that?
Yeah, that sounds good. I like the comparison.
Is it? I mean, is that not like? Is that terrible for me?
I want common sense assault weapon control.
Oh, so you want
Not assault weapon as fuck. Assault word control. I ruined my bet.
assault word control?
I want common sense. I want common sense assault word control. Fuck. I ruined that.
Good luck with that. That's not
Yeah.
gonna happen. Never gonna happen.
Well, I'm not serious. It was just a bit that I
saying-
failed to deliver.
See, I think if you give everyone the psychic assault weapons, let it all play out itself, and then like let the cards fall where it may lay, and whoever's left, I think they're gonna create a utopia.
Yeah, sounds good. Nice purging. Okay, so what number did I end up getting up to? No. And let's see. Number 4, I'm going to say your answer of what you would have told yourself before being born is 9/11 is going to happen. As a New Yorker.
Oh, so before you move here, just
Please.
realize there's going to be another 9/11. I don't know when, I don't know where, I don't know how, but it's gonna something like this is gonna happen in the city. again.
Imagine a bioweapon released.
That's what the COVID was.
Yeah. An American bioweapon to attack China.
I think it was a Chinese bioweapon that America knew how to activate.
Deliberately activating it on China, or
Therefore, it was an
accidental?
American bioweapon by extension. But
Yeah.
America's like tendrils run so deep with their different alphabet agencies.
I
that,
like the idea that it was a deliberate American attack on the Chinese government and population.
No, I think it's a. I don't think we're talking about levels of certain just national borders. I think we're talking about like something that transcends nations, like organizations like that, like private interests that literally go beyond national borders. To be honest,
Yeah.
Do you believe in that? Like a cabal of that high echelon of a power, where they just like they could tell a president to fuck off.
Yeah, I'd be willing to entertain it, though I don't think it's the case for the actual world.
I mean, we've literally seen it happen
Within the U.S.
We saw it happen
government,
with
yes.
Trump.
Yeah.
Like Trump literally said, "Give me all the information about aliens right now," and he was literally told, "Go fuck yourself."
Yeah.
He literally did that. He was like,
I know.
I promise I'll find out," and then he tried, and they were like, "No, absolutely not. Fuck you." Because they did have shit that they didn't even tell Trump. Like he, otherwise, he probably would have spilled the guts. But they knew that.
Well, he would have tweeted about it. He would have tweeted a picture of an alien autopsy and talked how the weak and pathetic alien looked like Nancy Pelosi.
Yeah. They literally, they told him, take a hike, man. We don't care if you're President Trump. Like, we're not going to give you full disclosure. We never gave Obama full disclosure. We never gave Bush full disclosure on this shit.
Yeah.
We certainly never gave Bill Clinton full disclosure. What makes you think we're going to give you full disclosure on this shit, you fucking idiot? I think the last presidents that were really like in the know were probably like maybe Truman. When was Truman?
50s.
Okay, fuck that. Not Truman.
No, that seems reasonable. That feels like a time that if this would be formed, it would have been formed in the wake of World War II.
Who was that?
Or the interwar
No, actually, I
period.
think the last president that was really truly in the know about like black projects were like fucking
Would be
senior.
Barack Obama.
no,
the
no,
half
no, senior. You know who I'm talking about when I say
George
senior.
Herbert Walker Bush.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, that seems pretty reasonable because he was in World War II.
Dude, he was
OSS connected.
he was a monster. You know how many bodies you know how many people he must have put in the dirt, honestly.
Oh, as a bomber? Do you know that he was almost eaten by the Japanese? No, I'm serious. His plane crashed in the waning days of World War II, and he was almost captured by Japanese soldiers who ate George Herbert Walker Bush's co-pilot.
For to be fair, like out in the Pacific, like food was really scarce in
Yeah,
those tiny
and
scraps
I think it
of
was
land.
also a ritualistic feast for the officers.
I'm just saying, like food was really
Yeah.
scarce for both sides, Japan and so
Yeah.
it's not even
no,
like
America at that point had a lot of food because we were winning the war effort.
okay. I'm saying like during like 1942 and like
No,
the
this
first,
is like 44, 45.
all right, so I'm saying in the first days of like
Yeah.
the invasions of those little small pockets of, and even the years in, the fact was because those pockets of islands were so small and relatively isolated, it was so easy to get overwhelmed navally. Where like one island would eventually be dominated by one side, and then
Yeah.
overnight it would suddenly all their ships got sunk, and then it would just get switched places like that. And then, like the guys on the islands would just like look on in horror as like 1 minute it's like yeah Navy give him hell, and the next minute it's like where the fuck are they? And it's just all Japanese ships, and like what the fuck do we do? You know,
Yeah.
so it was that fast for them.
Yeah, certainly that was more the experience of the British with the Japanese in like 40 or 41. It was in 39 when all the British planes got like shot down by Japanese Zeros.
But you're right. By the time it was like 43, 44, like
No,
it was,
more like 44, 45.
yeah, it was over.
Yeah.
Until like they just had to say like
No,
you know what?
at that time, George Herbert Walker Bush crashed in like the Pacific during the last days of World War II.
Yeah, because those little Japs were hungry. They were
Yeah.
they were hungry as fuck. They acted
But
crazy.
during his presidency, a Japanese minister was over and they were eating dinner together. And George Herbert Walker Bush looked at him and compulsively vomited and had to excuse himself from dinner.
Oh.
This isn't a joke. He had some kind of speculating. He must have
A
had
flashback.
a World War II flashback of watching a Japanese guy eat his co-pilot.
That's awesome.
And he had to be excused from dinner because he was like viscerally sick, vomited. It was just claimed it was food poisoning.
So badass.
But it was in response to like the Japanese prime minister eating meat.
That's so sick. In his mind, like you're just hearing like these like those damn filthy fucking Japs. I'll fucking kill them all. He's like they're eating my boys. Look at this, look at this
No, it was
bastard.
probably more that he was terrified of being eaten himself by the Japanese.
On a visceral level. On a
Yeah.
visceral level, yeah. His like survival instincts are like alarm bells were ringing off.
Yeah.
Damn, he's a badass mother. I mean, he did some evil things, I would admit, but he was a badass motherfucker.
Sure.
I would think twice before fucking with him, even at this time. I think he's got like
Now that he's dead?
he's dead.
Yes, he died a few years ago. He was in a wheelchair for a while.
I didn't know he died. Shit.
Yeah, he was like almost 100.
How much of a badass do you have to be to live that kind of life and then just
And
go
he was
out
sexually harassing women as a senile old man. Never before. So really, it's
Well, I
entire.
did say he did evil things.
Yeah, it was really evil that as a 98-year-old man, he groped a nurse.
No, I mean, could you imagine what he did when at the heights of his power?
What? Just bombing runs? I think otherwise
No,
he was
like
a very uptight Anglo.
What do you think? What do you think it feels like to be a guy, like just at his stint as director of the CIA? Like you're walking down the
yes, that.
street, you could make civilians disappear. And
I
probably,
bet he was very unwilling to do that because
No,
of
I mean-
how, like, uptight of a figure he was.
But at the same time, he did it a lot.
Well,
I mean, he
fair,
was under
fair.
order, but he
Yes.
still orchestrated those like things, which is scary to think about. You know.
Do you know what he said to a nurse, which was, do you know who my favorite magician is? David Copperfield. And then he grabbed her ass. In
That's
his wheelchair.
such a 1950s joke. Like
And he was like 99 when it happened. I am glad that there was no attempt to cancel George Herbert Walker Bush
they would have killed them. They would have
What?
gotten them killed.
at 99.
What makes you think that people haven't gotten killed trying to cancel George Hubert Bush or whatever?
Yeah, He did a bunch of things as like director of CIA and then as a president, but by this point in time, well, at that point of time, a couple of years ago.
First of all, do you think Obama would ever do anything like that? Never, right?
Sure, I could see him doing that. Yeah,
Nah, I don't think he would do that. I don't think he's that kind of guy. I think he's a fucking nerd.
yeah. What I'm getting at is he was senile or going senile for a long period of time, a high number of years. I could see him doing that when he was young, but not as a decrepit old man.
Obama?
No,
Bush.
Bush
Bush.
Senior.
Yeah. Fucking Bush Senior. What a unit. We could at least like evil or not, mostly evil. We could at least say he was a badass motherfucker.
He was pretty lame in a bunch of ways, very dorky, uptight guy. But yeah, he did actually last president to serve in World War II.
You think he watched the light go from a man's eyes like with his bare hands?
Probably shooting a guy, but not with his bare hands.
Right.
And he seemed like a very clean-cut American figure, albeit from a wealthy, privileged...
Very Reaganite.
Yeah. Regal, well, aristocratic.
Yeah. Well, I'll say this much. You know what? We need to live in a different age of humanity where we put the whole killing each other behind us. I mean, is it possible? Is there still like reasons to kill humans other than the fact
Yeah, I could see pride,
revenge.
Yeah. Variety of
It's like, how
personal
dare you rape my daughter and kill her in a drunken rage? I will kill
But
you.
people
now.
are way less likely to kill nowadays over things like that.
You think so?
Yeah, definitely.
Oh yeah, because you get punished for the killing for
Yeah.
that. Yeah. Don't do it! The federal agent says as he pulls out a gun on the man who's completely justified and wanted to kill this man.
Yeah. They just arrest him and then try him, convict him.
But it's like they would process him. Meanwhile, all the cops would be like, "You did exactly what I would do, man."
Yeah.
That's what they would say in the Netflix movie.
So we're up to 4 or 5 of things I wish I knew before moving to New York City.
Number 5.
Okay, cool. Drat.
Number 5.
Fuck.
All right. I know what it is. Number 5 is if you're moving to New York City, don't expect your relationship that you're in during the move to work out. It's gonna be over. I don't care if you like move here with someone or you move here, you meet someone, and then you
immediately start dating.
Your first relationship in New York City that you come into is not gonna work out. It's not. It's gonna end.
My first relationship was like 5 months, I think, after. Yeah, it was like 5 months.
Maybe
after
it was
moving
different
to New York.
Maybe it was different in like 2005. Hell, maybe even 2015. But it's 2023, and times are very different now. And if you move out into New York City with a relationship or your first relationship, it's gonna end.
Maybe if you're young. Yeah, no, it will.
There's nothing wrong with that, and that's okay. And it's, all good things come to an end. Wait, I don't think that's right. All things come to an end.
Yeah. Yeah, maybe they weren't even good. Yeah, if they weren't even good. Yeah, I agree with that. Look, people always complain about dating in New York, which I guess is reasonable, but dating has always been bad for, well, maybe not when I was very young, but I was young then. It was in a different time, a different culture.
You talking about different culture. What you know about different culture?
I mean, 2013 compared now, a decade's difference.
I would love to see a show called...
It was just easier to date for me. But maybe that's because I was young then.
You know what I think you should do? I think you should get really good at cooking, and I think you should become like Anthony Bourdain.
Yeah?
Yes. Minus all the fucked up parts.
Of being a cuckold?
Yeah. You should be just a normal guy, traveling the world, eating their food, and living their life for like 30 minutes.
Yeah.
You should do that.
Actually, that would be a fun experience, wouldn't it?
You know what? All right, let me do this. If I ever come across six figures that I could just burn,
Yeah.
this is what I'm gonna put it on. I'm gonna put it on a Carmen World show.
Oh wow, that'd be wonderful. I appreciate that, man. That you would like me to have a.
Well, you're a literal personality. You're the perfect personality for this. You just need the resources and to actually manifest it. So I'll be the producer.
I appreciate it.
You be the
It'd
spokes.
great.
You be the face. You be the
Yeah,
guy.
the star.
Yeah. And then
Just need a
would,
cameraman.
and we don't even need a TV network. We could do it on YouTube. And and I
sure.
think it would work. It would just be funny watching you in Thailand. It's like you're like, do I really have to eat this live toad sashimi? I'm like, yes, you do. I paid for your trip to Thailand.
Oh, I would definitely be eating that.
Yeah. I'll be like, Carmen, you're out here fucking shemale beautiful prostitutes. Like,
I wouldn't
paid
be
for
fucking. Here's the thing: I wouldn't be fucking the lady. I would eat disgusting food, but I would refuse to have sex with the lady boys.
All right, I'll be like, Carmen, I'm paying for your 17-year-old prostitutes. All right, like, you have to.
Okay, I guess I'll have to fuck the one with the dick then. You made a good point, Chris. You're paying for the trip. You're paying for the prostitute. It'd be ungrateful of me not to suck this tranny's cock.
No. I'm saying to eat the sashimi food.
That I would do for sure. Yeah.
Yeah, and then I gotta film your reaction to it, and you also gotta learn how to cook. You gotta learn how to cook.
I can cook.
All right, cool. So once you cook, not only do you eat the stuff there, we gotta visit like a Thai orphanage, and then you cook like them an omelet, and we get that on camera. It's like, try that, kid, and the kid's like, ew.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, it's like a mediocre omelet.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
Nah, it wouldn't be that bad. It would be good. You gotta. I think anyone could learn how to cook really good. I think you could learn how to cook really good.
I think I'm a pretty okay cook right now.
Exactly.
But you're right. I could go to the next level.
Yeah,
to be
I think you'd be capable.
Confident.
I think you'd be really good at it.
Yeah, thank you. That's true.
The only thing that I don't know if you're good at, which I don't know if anyone's good at, is baking. Baking is like a tough nut to crack.
Oh, I used to bake all the time.
Really?
Yeah.
So if you're good at, if you're halfway decent at baking, then you could be great at cooking, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So get really into cooking. You know.
I already am. I always was.
Awesome. So then what you should do is what I got to do is I got to make six figures and make this TV show. I got to make this fucking.
Oh, I'm glad. I'd be glad to be your star, and I appreciate
yeah.
your generosity, man. This is a wonderful concept.
Well, hopefully it would make more money than I would put in, right?
Yeah.
I think it could really take off, though. I think we could get we could get endorsements.
Private parts unknown with Carmen Prince.
I bet we get sponsors like Adidas. Adidas would be like, please wear our windbreakers while you do this stuff, and we could have Richie do some stupid job. Like he could be like the camera guy or something.
He would be the Carl Pilkington.
Yeah, you could be the guy that's behind the camera.
He's just walking with me at all times.
Yeah. Even like when
the two of
when
us.
Anthony Bourdain's doing the most fucked up shit, it's like you just feel bad for the camera
It
guy.
would be
You're like,
Anthony Bourdain plus Carl Pilkington in Idiot Abroad.
Yeah.
And that'd be Richie and I going around a third world country eating food.
You're just like the only times when you really get how horrible it is when they look in the mirror and he's like
Yeah.
all fucked up and then he goes back. It's like the shot goes back. I love that.
That's a great idea.
Yeah. Damn. I gotta fund this somehow. This is what this podcast has to turn into. Terrorisk Global.
Yeah. International
parts.
terrorists.
Yeah.
Do you like the movie Face Off?
With Nicolas Cage and John Travolta?
Yes.
Yeah, it's a good enough movie, yeah.
I really like that movie a lot.
It's a fine movie.
It's a grandiosity. The particular time is John Woo in America making an English language heroic bloodshed film. The worst part about it is that Nicolas Cage isn't playing the villain the whole time.
It's very soap opera-esque.
Yeah, very oriental.
It's literally a soap opera in movie form. Like,
It's a real C-pop movie. C-drama.
but it has all the right people.
Yeah, it does.
Who's
The campy theatricalness of lines like I'm going to take his face off.
Oh, okay.
I think it's a significant artistic achievement as a film. As is Con Air. Con Air is great. Con Air is like...
I don't remember Con Air. I haven't seen it.
You should watch it again. It's like if Tennessee Williams wrote an action film.
You know what my problem is? I listened to like this one Come Town episode where they were like really digging into the Con Air movie.
Yeah.
And like I feel like if I watch it now, I'm gonna like taint my the perception of it through them because I really enjoyed it.
That's
But-
a reason to watch it again. I
You're right,
think it
you're
will
right,
be
you're right,
actually
yeah.
informative. I don't think it would be tainted. I think you would have a grander appreciation.
Yeah, of the bit. It's true. I should watch it again.
Yeah.
Yo, you know what's sad?
What?
I don't like any new movies. Like I think these new movies are garbage.
I wonder if film as a medium is just dead. Maybe it just had a good 100
Do
years
Zoomers
run.
love their shit the way we used to love our movies? Do they? Like no.
No, I think there's some letterbox Zoomers and some people that get into older things, but I think increasingly it's a dying art form.
Because I used to love the shit that came out for me. You know,
Yeah.
like I don't know if like I because like maybe I'm out of touch.
I
Maybe
think
I'm
there's
old.
Marvel fans, but yeah.
Maybe I'm out of touch. Maybe I'm old, but I just don't think any of his new shit is good. I don't. I think video games are more fulfilling to me than movies.
Yeah, that's the case for a lot of males. There's just a tremendous amount of male energy that's been poured into video games.
I think there's been plenty of like divine feminine energy poured into video games, like Final Fantasy, as some people call Final Faggotry.
I don't know.
You
It
like-
still feel maybe like some more female followers, but it's still an overwhelmingly male sphere.
I think JRPGs in particular scratch
Yeah.
the feminine itch very
But,
well.
Yeah. They're simple enough that, and fuck,
Narratively rich enough and aesthetically pleasing.
that girls can enjoy them. Yes, weeb girls and the like.
Well, just like we boys love the power fantasy shit, you know.
But yeah, they've been a tremendous time sink for huge portions of the population, myself included.
Yeah. Well, I'm kind of getting less interested in like media narratives, like like movie narrative, fictional narratives. Now it's like the whole the meta narrative to me is like the most fun because like I like the idea.
Well, that's what following the news cycle is like. It's like following a meta narrative.
Yeah. But now it's like
The discourse is just a big role-playing game we're all
Yes.
taking part of.
It's like everyone's
It's
like
an
everyone's using their own like reality magic to battle each other's realities.
Russiagate and QAnon were both augmented reality games that large portions, particularly of the older population of America, engaged in.
What was QAnon about? Can you break down QAnon for me? I don't know what they're about.
It is maybe an CIA or FBI, probably CIA psyop, maybe just an out of control meme, but a claim that like Trump is like has a secret campaign to root out satanic pedophiles in the U.S. and international governments, and a series of like anonymous leaks from someone in the FBI or possibly from Trump himself detailing how they're going to save the American constitutional order. A vague conspiracy, but also like collaborative role-playing game that a whole bunch of different people engaged in. This is very vague. I don't know if I've lost track of it, but I think that's an accurate description of the runaway meme, which I personally think might be a psyop in origin. But supposedly someone named Q kept posting on 8chan, dropping details of events that would happen, cryptic, like puzzle game escape room clues you had to follow to gain, or serialized television show trail of clues or events that would lead to some greater comprehension. There's something vaguely more than vaguely, something very Gnostic about it.
Okay. Well, so they were basically into the whole idea of, I mean, if you're going to, I mean, I've definitely know of conspiracy theories that extend beyond just like child sex pedophilia, like the whole adrenochrome thing.
Yeah.
And the whole adrenochrome
kind of
thing
like
ties into the reptilian conspiracy, and the reptilian conspiracy ties into this idea of like higher dimensional intelligences that have been amongst humans this whole time, hiding amongst humans, interacting with humans. But then now you have like guys like David Grush coming out saying like, oh yeah, aliens have been in contact with humans, and those things with like UAPs and shit, and like that's all coming out, and it's like it's kind of all tying together in a weird, intricate way. Where it's like it's not that no one source was like really right about 100%, but you see like the commonalities between
A lot of UFO stuff is coming out because of Harry Reid, the Democrat senator, I think, from Nevada, who is very interested in UFOs. He's friends with the guy at Skinwalker Ranch.
First of all, you don't know if aliens are real, but UFOs are real. Like there's weird things flying around out there, like that we just don't have the physical insight to understand, right? You could agree with that. You've seen enough footage. Not like I'm not saying like all of it's real, but I'm saying like there's enough out there for you to be like, there's something.
Cameras keep improving, and yet the video quality stays the same, which makes me feel suspicious about the whole thing.
Yeah. But also, like, maybe you're suspicious about the whole thing as in the phenomenon, or maybe you're suspicious about the whole system that presents us the phenomenons,
Maybe both.
Exactly. And then what can you trust at that point? So you might as well just be skeptical about everything.
Yeah, I'm pretty inclined to do that too. However, UFOs, I am far more confident of elephants existing. Well, I've seen one before. Far more inclined of, a variety of, animals I've never seen in person, but I've seen video footage of. It's very high quality. My knowledge, okay, I've seen many gorillas on TV and photographs and memes. I've never seen a gorilla in real life, but I trust gorillas exist in real life based on the footage I've seen, how high fidelity it is, all the corresponding details.
Less footage, more photographs.
Yeah, whereas UFOs have been grainy my whole life. I've seen UFO footage, and it's just grainy and distant, both now and things from when I was born, like 30 years ago, to years before I was born. It seems consistently sparse.
Who knows? The government's definitely fucking with us using aliens, though, as a piece.
Yeah, maybe some kind of psyop fake narrative.
But for what end? To what end? Why? Why?
Well, in the case of the recent UAPs or whatever, there's direct government funds involved. Otherwise, it could be to disguise Cold War era military plans or plotting, or just as a general social distraction, which there's a bunch of projects that have happened or were designed in U.S. history like this.
On a certain level, like you gotta think like without the term like concept of reverse engineering. What if just for a purely utilitarian capitalistic greed sense, like what if someone came up with a system that was actual like clean renewable energy and it tapped into some metaphysical element of the human existence?
Sure.
Like Nikola Tesla, apparently, is like, there's like theories that he came up with like a system for perpetual energy, and he was it was all taken by Trump's uncle of all people.
Yes, I recall that. Yes.
Yeah, there's stuff like that. But I think like what's more interesting, it's like, reverse engineered shit doesn't have to be from aliens. It could be from what's it called? Ancient civilizations.
Sure.
And that could also be kept hidden pretty well.
Yeah, all reasonable enough to me. What was that? Did we get through 5 things
yes, we did.
We wish we knew before I moved to New York City?
I'm pretty sure
you obviously were born
But there was
here.
also honorable mentions.
Let me ask this. Give me some let's pretend you didn't grow up in New York City and you're moving to New York City. What are some things you would tell yourself at your current age?
Or in my current situation? I would say like figure out how to be useful to society.
Yeah?
Yeah. If you could be useful to society, you'll be all right. I would say learn how to cut hair.
Yes. Ooh, learning barbering is a good idea.
Yeah, it would be like learn how to cut black hair, Hispanic hair, Asian hair, white hair. Learn how to cut all the hair.
Just be a multiracial barber.
Yes.
That's a good skill set. I like that.
Do you have any idea how, like, this girl I used to mess around with, God bless her, she was amazing. But, like, she works for a very prominent internet online retail company. Anyway, She specifically she comes from a family of barbers. Like
Yeah.
she wears a necklace with a scissor pendant, to represent. It's cool, and like she knows how to cut hair, and she was taught because apparently if you know how to cut hair, you'll never go hungry, and that's like awesome. It's like so true. It made me appreciate like the craft of cutting hair.
A barbery, yes.
Yes. Imagine being a barber. Let's be barbers together, Carbon. Let's
new school to learn. I like that idea. Yeah,
because if we become good barbers, we could travel anywhere in the world and be like, hey, I can give you a good,
I'm sure you make good money in New York City, though. Maybe you have to be Bukharan to be a barber.
Yeah, Bavarian.
What?
Bukharan, yeah.
Bukharan, the Jews from Central Asia.
Bavarian, yeah.
Yeah. They have like a monopoly on white hair in New York City.
They're good. They're good at what they do.
They are.
Yo, but imagine being good at cutting hair. Like being one of those guys that can cut hair. You could
a barber.
You could be in the military. You could be in the space program. You could be anywhere. You're the guy that knows how to cut hair. Like, I mean, if you look at any you know what? It doesn't even make sense. If there's any long-term space mission, there has to be a guy that knows how to cut hair.
Yeah, that's probably not something happening anytime soon. But yes, it's true.
You don't think they have barbers in the ISS? There has to be.
No, they do. I'm sure.
Yeah, right.
I'm just not saying that being a space barber isn't a career I would hope to land on.
I'm just
expect
saying,
to land on.
In every situation, you need a barber.
Yes, that's true.
Especially military.
That's such an interesting idea that you go to school, you go to barber college to train how to be a zero-G space barber. That's your long-term goal, is to cut hair in space.
Or it's like you get your credentials by cutting hair in the most extreme situations. Like I cut hair in submarines. I cut hair in prison.
Yeah.
I cut hair on the job. I cut hair in my own business. I cut hair privately.
This just sounds like a manga or anime.
What? Yeah. Like I could do women's hair, I could do men's hair, I could do elderly hair,
Yeah,
I could do children's hair.
Maybe it would be. I don't know the subgenre of manga that.
And you get so good. You're like, I could do cat hair, I could do
Yeah.
dog hair. Like you just get so good. You become the master barber.
Yeah, exactly.
That's such an awesome thing. Like to have that legacy. I am the master barber.
Yeah.
Your head of hair, your body hair is my canvas. And my scissors are my brush. And you're just like chopping people's hair into beautiful works of art. That's sick. That's crazy. But yeah, being a barber is sick.
Yeah.
There's definitely a novelty to it. Fuck. And now I want to go to school to cut hair.
You want to go to barber? You want to go to barber/clown college?
Just barber college. Is that what it is? It's a college?
Yeah, I think it's a trade school kind of
Trade school, yeah.
situation, yes. But I do think you go through it, or you learn in family.
Well, now that Instagram's a thing, those barbers have like a second wind. Like they're doing like crazy shit on Instagram.
Yeah.
They're like, yo, we could do like the Last Supper in the back of your fucking head. Like,
Yeah.
what's the craziest shit you would get shaved on your head?
I've only the craziest thing I've done is have relatively long hair.
What about a mohawk?
Yeah, I guess I could or would have.
Do a mohawk.
I'm gonna grow my hair out to my shoulders and see how it feels. I haven't cut my beard in a few weeks. I'm trying to grow out my beard. I don't know how well it will
You're gonna
work.
be a hippie?
Maybe. No, just about like shoulder length and brushed back.
All right. Like a cowboy.
Yeah.
All right.
I mean, that's just what I'm dressed as right now, tonight, but yes.
Like an outlaw.
Yeah.
I think concealed carry is going to be a norm in New York City, of all places, pretty soon. Would you?
Because of recent federal rulings, correct?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, that would be cool.
Well,
I'm intrigued.
Might as well, right?
Yeah.
I mean, having a gun would be cool. It's like having a toy. You could point it at your friends just for fun, You're
not supposed to do that.
I know. I'm totally kidding.
Yeah.
I would never do that if
I know.
If I owned a firearm.
It's uncomfortable if someone points a toy gun at you.
Is it?
Well,
I mean, I haven't had
someone.
I haven't had someone point a toy gun at me. in a
No,
long
like an
time.
airsoft gun.
Oh yeah, for sure. Yeah, 100%.
Anything that looks believable, even if you know it's fake. It's one thing if it's like a toy ray gun, sure, but like an airsoft gun designed to look like a real one, it's like, no, I prefer not.
Yeah, getting hit by an airsoft gun really does suck sometimes.
Yeah.
I've gotten hit in the face, in the ass, in the dick, in the nipple, in the chest, in the stomach, in the neck.
Yeah.
Close to the eye. Never directly in the eye, but close to the eye.
Even an unloaded airsoft gun being pointed at you makes you uncomfortable because...
Well, I don't know. I mean, to a certain extent, I would only be so scared because, like,
Yeah.
at this point, I'm used to, like, swords, like, being, like, swung close
That's
to my
true,
I'm
yes.
like, all right, whatever. You know, like, it's like, if it's going to happen, it's going to fucking happen, you know? I'm like... That really, you know, maybe that is fucked up. Maybe I should think twice about, like, where that's taking me. Like, maybe it is taking me to some dark places.
No, I think it's fine with your swordsmanship.
Think so?
Yeah, I think so, yes.
And then, like, knock on wood. Before, like, you know, next, like, I'm like...
Well, when you get into a sword fight with a group of scholars on the New York City streets and you draw your katana...
You know, I actually discussed this with other sword people, you know, that I sword with. And we agreed, like, if I was facing off with a guy who had, like, a really nice sword, like a really nice, sharp, pristine katana... And I had one of those, that heavy-ass brown wooden sword, I'll be way more confident than if I had a sword.
Yeah.
Because if I had a real sword, there's a lot of things that I'll be locked out doing. I can't make just blade-to-blade contact and, like, you know, block. And, like, I would have to be more mindful about my technique and how I swing. Whereas if I had that, he's like, the guy wants to swing at me. I'm like, all right. And I'll just do, like, a baseball swing right at his fucking strike. Like, and I would know how to do it. And I would just, like... His blade would get caught, and I would yank it, and I would fuck him up. Like, if I had a real sword, I couldn't do that. You know, like, I could, because, like, I'll be just as fucked as him. But if I have, like, a wooden sword, I wouldn't give a fuck. You know, like...
Well, if, like a meth addict was attacking you with a sharpened tactical sword, I guarantee you would kill them. Or you would wound them desperately with your actual sword and your actual technique.
Well, I'm just saying, like, if I was fighting a guy who had, like, a real sword and I had a wooden sword,
I
think I'd be more comfortable than if I had a real sword. No, because, like, if you know what you're doing and you know your range and you realize, like, the limitations of a real sword is... The real swords get damaged a lot easier. You know, they do. They can't take blade-to-blade contact like you see in the movies. They can't do all that shit. Like, you know, usually, like, one good strike of blade to blade, it ruins the sword forever. You know, it's like, that's usually, in real life, swords weren't even a real weapon to use all the time. It was just like your sidearm. You know, it's just something that you use when you ran out of arrows and you lost your spear. It's like, oh shit, now my sword time. Yeah. That's what a sword was. Otherwise, it was used for, like, blood feuds. Like, oh, we're dueling right now. Swords only, motherfucker. Let's go. You know, like, that's what swords were. It's what they weren't, like, a real practical, everyday, all the time used weapon. It was mostly a flex weapon. It's like, it's a luxury weapon, I guess you could say.
Yes. Fuck, what else?
Oh yeah, so what would I tell myself if I were moving to New York City other than that? I would say eat right. I would say don't fall into the trap of, like, all these novelty foods that are terrible for you, like these, like, stupid fucking giant cheeseburgers, and these, like, grease drenched French fries, all this, like, stupid deep fried shit. It's all terrible for you. Don't fall into the deli food traps, like, oh, beef patty with cocoa butter and cheese every single day with hot chips and a nutty drink. No, fuck all that. That's bad. Don't fall into the poor people food. Like, seriously, it's very tempting because, you know, there's all these, like, trends and cultural trends nowadays that glorify it. Like, oh, I want the chopped cheese every day, or I want the Kennedy fried chicken every day, or I want this. That's all.
Yeah, Ice Spice Dunkin' Munch drink.
Yeah, fuck Ice Spice food.
With Dunkins. With the Munchkins.
Don't eat like those people. Don't do it. You know, you don't even have to eat expensively. Just don't eat like shit. Just don't, because that's extravagant at that point. If you're getting, like, shit that's that fried, that abundant, you're paying a pretty penny for that too. Just don't do that. It's not worth it. It's not worth eating that fucking garbage. I mean, it tastes good at the moment, but it's like, so does crack, in a sense, you know? Just don't do it. It becomes an addiction, just like McDonald's and all that shit. New York food, that iconic New York, even the pizza. Yeah. Even the pizza. Like, don't fucking do. I hardly eat pizza. I love pizza, but I hardly eat it. It's like, it's not good for you. I mean, some pizza's good for you. Like I've had like brick oven and like Sicilian, like beautiful Sicilian slices with fresh diced tomatoes on that shit with like fucking peppers. That shit is awesome. And you'll find like good stuff. There's always an exception to the rule. But usually these like fucking like, you know, I don't know, this garbage that we usually eat, like this, yeah, it tastes delicious and it's very like soul affirming food, but it's just not good. Also, Korean barbecue, that shit's overrated. I'm sorry.
Really?
It is. Yeah.
Why do you say that?
I don't know, because I can make it myself for like way cheaper.
That'd be a good thing to do. I'd like to go to Korea and eat Korean barbecue.
You want to have Korean barbecue?
Yeah.
You can go to Korean barbecue right now.
Yeah? You have a hot pot ready to go?
No, we could go to a place. What time is it? 10. It's not even 10.
Well, I'm not that hungry, so don't fret.
Yeah, you just had that big ass sandwich.
No, I'm full. Some other time in the future.
Yeah, I'll take you to a good spot. Anyway, we're about at the time we needed for the podcast. Thanks for coming on.
Yeah. I was going to ask what time it was, how long we've been recording. So I kept looking at my phone very rudely.
We're at 1 hour and 30 minutes.
Okay.
Do you have any closing statements though?
New York City rules. I love New York.
All right, I have a closing statement. Fuck Chicago. Chicago's
not, like, it's a pretty city. I enjoyed visiting it, but I was kind of bored there. It's very Midwestern. I could see its charms. I would rather live in Chicago than L.A. I fucking hated L.A. Chicago was all right. It was boring, though.
What about San Diego?
Never been.
What about San Francisco?
No, San Diego I have been. It was pretty, but too spaced out, too suburban, too boring. San Francisco, I've never been.
What about Oakland?
Never been.
Sacramento?
Nope.
Anaheim?
What?
Anaheim?
Nope. I've been to Austin. I liked Austin.
Texas?
Yeah.
What about Dallas?
Never been.
Houston?
Nope. Toronto I liked.
Canada?
Yes.
What about Quebec?
Never been to Quebec.
What about Montreal?
That's in Quebec.
Okay. What about, you ever been to Asia?
Nope.
Oh my god, I would love to go to Asia with you.
Yeah.
Oh my god, if I could think of
just an Asian tour.
If I could think of if I went to go to South Korea, Japan, or Thailand, each reason I have like legitimate reasons to go to. If I went to any of those countries, I would love to take you with me. That would be so fun. Just to travel to, I would just film you like you doing all this shit. Like, this is Carmen using a bathroom in Thailand. This is Carmen taking out a shopping cart in Thailand. This is Carmen in Hong Kong about to eat octopus testicles. Yeah. This is Carmen in South Korea about to talk to a female train conductor. It'll be cool. I would do that. It would be so funny just watching you. You'd be like, and then they would just be looking at you, all people. They'd be like, wow, Carmen
san.
Carmen san. Carmen sama. Carmen sama. In Korea, they would call you Mr. Carmen. Mr. Carmen.
Yeah. Oh man, that would be delightful.
Mm-hmm. You would just come in and then they would be like, what do you want to eat? They would be like, you just sit at a restaurant. They would just like fill you up with all sorts of shit, just because you're like the quintessential white man from America.
Yeah,
like they would love you. They would be like,
that's true.
Yeah. You know what they would really do? That would be annoying.
What?
They would all want to take a picture with you.
That'd be fine.
They would be like,
I would get tired, but I would just go ahead, let them do it. Yeah.
They'd be like, picture, such it.
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
Okay, let's do it. Oh my god! And I would just watch I'll be the guy that'd be like, I'll take the picture. Give me the phone. And then I'd just be like, 1, 2, 3, cheese. One more. 1, 2, 3.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I would do.
That'd be great.
And then I would take a tally in my own phone. I'd be like, how many pictures I took regardless.
Yeah.
I'd be like, and then at the end of the trips of all the countries, I'd be like, you took exactly 365 pictures.
Oh, that's probably a low number of me traveling abroad.
Yeah. They'd be like, oh, let me take a picture with this white boy son.
Mm-hmm.
It would be really funny if we spent a long time in Japan and one of the Japanese ladies was tried to dress you up as a Japanese guy.
Oh, I would definitely do it. I would love to dress up. It'd be like that photo of Hitler wearing a kimono.
Yeah. You would look like Nathan Ogren from The Last Samurai.
Yeah. Actually, you're right. There's a lot of. I should travel. There's a lot of
Yeah,
places.
they
where
would
these
love
fast-
you out
yeah.
there. India, if you went to India, oh my god.
Yeah,
they'd
for
be
sure,
like-
yeah.
They'd be like, brother, are you aware of the Kali Yuga ending? They would invite you into the sex cult. It's like, are you like, do you want to go to the ocean? No,
Yeah.
you know, more likely if you go out to India, you'll meet some white girl from Australia and Israel. It's like, oh yeah, brother, let's go to the sex cult thing. And the girl from Israel will be like, yeah, I gotta go kill, Palestinians, but right now let's go to this thing.
The Israeli, yes, sounds like Gal Gadot.
Yeah, so you gotta go to.
No,
you gotta
there'd be a
travel.
lot of sir.
You belong in India, in Asia.
Yeah.
Just Asia in general. You would love Japan. You would love China. You would love
That's
Korea.
true.
You would love all those countries. Fuck. This is what, you know what? I just gotta make Terrorisk successful enough to be able to generate enough income to buy you plane tickets out there to gather content, and then we come back and I edit it, and then I'm like, all right, we release it. Everyone's like, this is the most retarded shit I've ever seen. Like, and it'll be great. Everyone would watch it. It'll be so great. I'll be like, oh fuck. I would love to go too, and I'll be like the producer on the scene. Like I would only be in the shot when they're like, things are going really bad right now. The cops showed up, like
Yeah, it would be a wonderful travelogue. I know.
And then Rich would just be there, like looking like really bewildered with the behind the camera. Like it's like, what?
Wandering into situations, befriending old ladies, and like bowing a lot.
There'll be a lot of shots of us yelling at him, be like, "What the fuck are you doing?"
Yeah,
man?
there would be a ton of that for sure. Yes,
Don't talk to them. Like
he'd be like,
he'd be like, "But what? They needed help." I mean, look at her. She's like eating off the food, and I'll just be like, "Shut the fuck up."
he's just Donnie and the Big Lebowski.
I'll be like, shut the fuck up. It's like, look, stop. Yeah, we would drive each other crazy. It'll be a crazy experience. We'd be so fucked up too. Like,
That would be delightful. Yeah.
and we would eat so many fucked up things. We would eat like snakes, scorpions. We got to do this. We have to do this.
I agree. Actually, it's a great idea. It's a great
we
concept.
have
With
to
the
do
right
this.
personalities for it.
We have to fucking do this. Oh my
Yeah.
god, this is gonna be so good. I'm gonna start planning it out. It might take us like 7 years to make this happen, but I'll
That's
make
fine. It'll be worth it.
Yeah, I'll make it happen. I'll fucking make it happen. Anyway, you guys better stay tuned.
Stay tuned
Yeah.
here at Terrorisk.
Yeah, on Terrorisk, it's gonna happen. Fuck. Anyway, good night, guys. You want to see? You have any closing statements? Say good night.
Good night, ladies and gentlemen.
Salutations,
And trans.
and God bless you.